Hi there and welcome to another Mickey's Roundtable adventure. On this episode, I'm going to be exploring Muppets and monsters. It's kind of an odd combination, but if you've been following Disney news, Disney Parks news recently, you know exactly what this episode is about. If you haven't, well, stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this Mickey's Roundtable adventure. As I undertook this adventure, as I'm recording this, it's November 2024, and just a few weeks ago, Disney announced that Monsters, Inc. would in fact be taking over Muppet Vision 3D and the Muppets area there at Hollywood Studios. So that's what spawned this idea, this adventure. I started with the monsters, went over to Muppet Courtyard. As we get into this video, I'll talk about the announcement, what they want to do, and throw out some ideas of my own. I started my Muppets and Monsters adventure by heading to Magic Kingdom and the one and only Monsters Inc. themed attraction at Walt Disney World. Currently, Tomorrowland is host to Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor. Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor opened in 2007. It's based on the original Monsters Inc. film, but it's based on the end of the film. If you're familiar with Monsters Inc., or if you're not familiar with Monsters Inc., I should say, it is about monsters in the monster world who go into the human world to scare children and collect their screams to be used for energy. It's a fun movie, but the end of the movie, they discover that laughter is more powerful than scream, and so they convert their factory from collecting screams to collecting laughs. So the attraction is based on that premise, that they're going to collect your laughs from the audience. What's particularly cool about this show is how interactive it is. They actually collect jokes from the guests, and every show is different. So when you're coming into the theater, when you're in the queue outside, there's signs up, text your joke to a particular number. They take the best jokes, the most fitting jokes, and they will use them in the show. So you're watching a movie, and the characters on the screen, these monsters on the screen, will actually tell you your joke.
I love that energy. Okay, here we go. This first joke comes from my new friend John. He's from New York, and he said, "What do you call two ducks and a cow?" Everybody say what? Quackers and milk.
And then they interact with you in real time. It's really kind of cool.
Make some noise for your monster of ceremonies, me, Mike Wazowski! Hello, humans!
A cast member in the audience will have a microphone and they'll go out.
Sound of.
And then they interact with the audience, and they always pick on.
No, like if I said, "You stink" to that guy, it would be a compliment.
That guy, there's one audience member that they will always keep highlighting throughout the whole thing. So there's a giant canister that they have to fill with laugh power, and so the more the audience laughs, the more they fill up. Otherwise, they can't open the doors to let you out of the theater. Anyway, it is a good show. It's a fun show. The Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor show that I attended was not particularly crowded, but it was a party night at Magic Kingdom. There was the Christmas party later on, so the park closed early at 6 o'clock. And it was the first show of the morning, so I don't know if that was a good judge, or you could judge accurately how busy or how popular Monsters Inc. in the parks is based on that particular experience and that particular show. What did have a long line was the other Monsters Inc. thing that I found at Walt Disney World. Over at Hollywood Studios, they had a meet and greet with James P. Sullivan. That's right, Sully from Monsters Inc. at the Pixar Plaza. It was probably a 15 to 20 minute wait for that particular meet and greet. Meanwhile, there were three other characters in the Pixar area there. Mrs. Incredible, Frozone, and Edna Mode, and I don't think you would have had to wait 15 minutes total for all three of those like you did for Sully. Anyway, I got to meet Sully. I love me a good meet and greet. I did get to meet Mike and Sully one time. They were also there at Hollywood Studios a while back in the Walt Disney Presents area in the back room, which is not a great place for a meet and greet because it's all the way through that museum and nobody's going to go there unless they know it's there. So out in the Pixar Plaza is a much better area for a meet and greet. Anyway, I would bulldoze that whole thing and put Star Tours in there, and then as you exit Star Tours, you would go right into Galaxy's Edge. Anyway, that's another topic for another time. Speaking of bulldozing, and a topic for this time, they are planning on removing Muppet Vision 3D and retheming that entire area to Monsters, Inc. So I headed over there at this year's D23 event, the Ultimate Disney Fan event out in California. They announced, among other things, a Monsters, Inc. land would be coming to Hollywood Studios. They didn't say where it was going, though. They did announce it's laughter thereafter when a brand new land themed around Pixar Animation Studios' Monsters, Inc. comes to life at Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World Resort. They released some concept art, but what they didn't do is announce specifically where at Hollywood Studios this was going to be going. An empty space backstage somewhere, Star Wars Launch Bay, which is basically a repurposed area that's kind of empty and it's used for a few meet and greets, or would it go where the Muppets are? Fans looking at the concept art saw similarities between the concept art and the real buildings that are there at the Muppets Courtyard, Grand Avenue area at Hollywood Studios. And so they suspected, correctly it turns out, that the Monsters, Inc. land would be coming to the Muppets area and Muppet Vision 3D would be closing. All right, now I need to be careful because I'm either going to start rambling and go off on all kinds of tangents, which means one of two things, either a long video that's not going to hold viewers' attention or a lot more editing and work for me to do. So I'm going to try and break this down as quickly, as simply as I can. What do I like about it? I do like the idea of a Monsters, Inc. land that actually feels like it's more pulled from the movie than any other land at Hollywood Studios. That's my perception of what Hollywood Studios has become. It's not a movie studio anymore, but you are stepping into the movies. The front half of the park is the golden age of Hollywood, the Hollywood that never was but will always be. The back half of the park, the various lands, are various movies that you are immersing yourselves into, like the great movie ride of yesteryear. They need to bring that back. But unlike Star Wars Galaxy's Edge or Toy Story Land or even Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, which is perfect, none of those areas are actually pulled from actual movie environments. They're not a recreation of something that you would actually experience sitting in the movie theater. Monsters, Inc. land, Monstropolis, whatever they're going to call it, actually feels like it's something from that movie.
Oh boy. Hold on!
I like that the Monsters, Inc. roller coaster, door coaster, it's a neat idea and it's being built outside of the park. They're utilizing land that isn't already occupied by something other than parking lot. So I like that idea. Of course, if you build something outside the park, you have to have a way for guests to get to it. And if you're going to be going through that Muppet Vision 3D courtyard area, why not theme it to that attraction and it sucks you in, it pulls you in. You are transported into that land, into that world. What I realized that I don't like, when I first saw the artwork of here's what it's going to look like, here's where it's going, it is taking over from the Muppets, and I love the Muppets. Watch my Muppets Adventure video that I did just a few months ago. You will see that at a time. On this episode, a salute to all creative genius puppeteers, but mostly Jim Henson. I liked the idea of it, and it fit based on the concept art. What I'm coming to realize, I didn't read the official announcement when it first came out, because the words Disney announces makes me cringe, and I don't want to see what's going to come next, because it's usually not good. The idea that this is a land set not during the movie, it's set after the movie. So basically, like the Disney Plus show Monsters at Work.
Tyler Tuskman, official scarer.
What? Scarer?
You're no longer hiring scarers?
Scarers are out. Jokesters are in.
Is this a joke?
Yeah, we're theming lands after Disney Plus shows, not actual movies anymore. So I don't care for that idea. I'd rather have it set actually in the monster world where their job is to scare children, and there's a scream shortage, and there's the Child Detection Agency, and all of the things that were fantastic in both Monsters, Inc. and Monsters University. The two feature films were both set in that time period, and this is after that. So I don't care for that. There is also the added realization that whatever they replace Muppet Vision 3D with, it's going to be set in that world, and it's probably going to be Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor. That's pure speculation. Me just watching the show, seeing the concept art, reading through the announcement. They don't want to scare people. They're going to build a villain's land, but they don't want to build a land where they're going to scare kids. That doesn't quite make sense to me. Muppet Vision 3D is a much better show. Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor is a really fun show. Love the interactive elements to it. But Muppet Vision 3D is a fantastic show. I've got problems with Muppet Courtyard, and it's not themed as well as it could be. But that could all be plussed. Instead of putting a Monsters, Inc. roller coaster at the back half of that area, you could put a Muppets Dark Ride, for kids, that kids can actually ride on, rather than a roller coaster that kids can't ride on, even though it's themed to characters that are very much geared towards kids. Muppet Vision 3D, not only is it a fantastic show, an immersive show, it's also Jim Henson's very last work.
It's great fun for us to just be thinking about it right now.
And I think probably the thing that tipped me over the edge from, I'm okay with this, to I'm on the fence, to maybe a definitive no, is how incredibly insulting it is that in front of Muppet Vision 3D, there's a poster advertising the Disney Plus documentary on Jim Henson, Idea Man. Yeah, let's honor Jim Henson while we're planning on tearing down his last work. A very fantastic, well done work. So that's a little insulting that was there. So here's what I think happened. This is pure speculation. It's just my own observations, and putting 2 and 2 together, it comes to 4. Okay, here's what I think happened. Again, no inside knowledge or anything like that, but they have their D23, and they announced Monsters, Inc. Land coming to Hollywood Studios, Cars coming to Frontierland at Magic Kingdom, and Villains Land coming to Magic Kingdom as well. Yay! But they don't announce where any of this is going other than the parks that they're going in. I think if they had done that, they would have been booed off the stage. People started speculating, as I mentioned earlier, that Monsters, Inc. would be coming in and taking over from the Muppets. Several days after, within the week after that D23 event, and they announced all of these things, they released concept art and announced that Cars would be coming to Frontierland and would be taking out Rivers of America, taking out the Liberty Square Riverboat and Tom Sawyer Island. And there was pushback. There continues to be pushback. They didn't announce where Monsters, Inc. was going specifically. Was it going to go in Star Wars Launch Bay? Was it going to go somewhere else behind Sunset Boulevard? Was it going to go into the Muppets Courtyard area? They didn't say. My guess is that's where they had planned to put it all along, but they didn't want to announce it yet because they didn't want to feel the backlash. So they said, we need to come up with something else for the Muppets to try and make fans happy. They came up with the idea of Rock and Roller Coaster. I don't know if it's the expiration of the contract with Aerosmith and their rights to use their music and their likeness in that ride, or what it is, but it was an easier switch for them to make. That's a very, very lightly themed attraction, which thrill ride, you don't need a lot of heavy theming to make it still a thrill ride, but I think it would be very easy for them to do that. So they said, okay, we'll do this. And then once they had their concept art done for that, then they were able to make this announcement. Yes, Monsters, Inc. is coming to Muppet Vision 3D, and the Muppets are out of there. But don't worry, we're going to put the Muppets into Rock and Roller Coaster. I very strongly suspect that the Muppets going into Rock and Roller Coaster will ultimately be the thinnest, cheapest, quickest overlay in the history of Disney parks. There are other options. One, they could just keep Muppet Vision 3D where it is. I would love to see that whole area improved. Pizza Rizzo is very, very poorly themed, and you could add to that, I would make Mama Melrose's a Swedish chef themed restaurant. Then back where the Monsters Inc. roller coaster ride is going to go, where they're planning on putting that, you put another Muppet themed dark ride back there. You plus Muppet Vision 3D by having other Muppet themed things around it, better restaurants, another ride, etc. But you can put Muppet Vision 3D elsewhere. Watch my other Muppet Adventure video that I did not too long ago. I talk about putting Muppet Vision 3D into the Magic Eye Theater. That's where Captain EO, starring Michael Jackson, was originally. It's now currently home to the Pixar Disney Short Film Festival. Disney Pixar Disney Short Film Festival. That's just kind of a placeholder. I think that would make a fantastic Muppet Labs themed area, and that show would fit in there very nicely. There's other areas in Hollywood Studios. I've heard the building where the Cars attraction was. You could turn that into a theater. There's where the Disney Junior Dance Party is in the animation courtyard. There's things like that. Now, I've got my own ideas for the Disney Animation Courtyard and Star Wars Launch Bay. Here's my idea. Just a quick aside, because I want to throw this out there. I don't know where else I would put it. I would recreate that area and make it look like the Disney Hyperion Avenue studio. That's where the first Mickey Mouse cartoons were produced, the Silly Symphonies, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, before they moved to their current studio in Burbank. You make that like that old studio, and that's my idea for that. And then that would be an entrance into Toontown off of Sunset Boulevard. Anyway, so that's my own personal reason as to why I wouldn't put anything else there. But you could put Muppets there as well. Here's my other idea. Currently, out at California Adventure at Disneyland Resort, there is a Monsters Inc. ride, Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue, which is basically a reskinned attraction from when the park first opened called Superstar Limo. That didn't last very long, and I won't get into the whole history of that, but that is currently a Monsters Inc. ride. So why not turn that into a Muppets ride? That could be the idea that I have, Moving Right Along, based on the song from the original Muppet movie, Moving Right Along.
Moving right along in search of good times and good news. With good friends you can't lose.
About Kermit and Fozzie and Miss Piggy and Gonzo and friends going to California to become rich and famous. And then here's the kicker. There's the movie theater right there off of Sunset Boulevard at California Adventure that is currently home to Mickey's PhilharMagic. Previously, it was home to Muppet Vision 3D, and basically it's all set up for that show to go back. You could put that in there just like that. It would be incredibly easy. You put in a Muppets ride where Monsters Inc. is, and you make that whole area not necessarily Muppet Courtyard. You could call it Muppet Studios. There's a water tower back in the corner. You could put Muppet Studios on there and have a whole little Muppets land there at California Adventure on the other side of the country. Not in Florida, but you would preserve that Muppet Vision 3D show. Anyway, those are kind of my ideas for incorporating the Muppets elsewhere. So I'm going to wrap up this Mickey's Roundtable Adventure. Before I do, I want to give a shout out to the Pete McDivitt Show. He gave me a shout out on his live stream recently.
This guy's really, really good. When I first turned him on, I was like, all right, let me see about this. And then after, I'm sitting there thinking, Tina, do I like this channel? And all of a sudden I realized I'm 6 videos in. I must like the channel. I just kept watching. So
If you're watching, Pete, thank you for the shout out. I really do appreciate it. If you're watching and you're not Pete, be like Pete. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I am going to wrap up with a couple of quick thoughts. I was reminded of some lyrics from a couple of different songs from a couple of the different Muppet movies. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing. That would drive away more viewers and subscribers than I could possibly imagine. The first song that I was reminded of in thinking about the Muppets and losing Muppet Vision 3D was from the original Muppet movie. It's not in my songbook here, so I had to look up the lyrics. It's the song that Gonzo sings when they're out in the desert. They almost made it to California, but they're not quite there yet, and they are stuck. And so Gonzo sings,
"This looks familiar, vaguely familiar, almost unreal yet. It's too soon to feel yet."
I think that's probably how a lot of Muppet fans are feeling at the prospect of losing Muppet Vision 3D at Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World. It does feel familiar. Losing Splash Mountain or the great movie ride, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. There's going to be changes over the years and things are going to develop and evolve. But some things, they are close to your heart and close to your soul, and losing them, it does impact you as a fan. The other song from the Muppets Take Manhattan, one of my favorite Muppet songs. My family, if you're watching, I want this to be sung at my funeral. So anyway, so it is a sad song. To set the scene, Kermit and Fozzie and Miss Piggy and the whole gang are in New York trying to sell a show to Broadway and get it on the big stage, and they're not making it. They kind of have to go their separate ways, and so as they're all going away, trying new things, they sing this song.
Saying goodbye, going away, seems like goodbye, such a hard thing to say.
Somehow I know we'll meet again. Not sure quite where, and I don't know just when.
Somehow I know we'll meet again. Not quite sure where, and I don't know just when. So hopefully, somehow, in some way, Muppets and specifically Muppet Vision 3D can be saved and resurrected and repurposed and put in somewhere else that we get to see it again as it was meant to be seen. So until next time, this has been another Mickey's Roundtable Adventure.